I will begin saying I'm very pleased and very grateful to be here with you from Wednesday now. We are lucky to be in Seminci, meeting each other and sharing experiences. Meanwhile, it's impossible to forget general context of audiences going lower in cinemas, without speaking of geopolitical landscapes that brings everyday desolation and sadness. But come on, let's try to be positive. I'm here to bring you some hope, some good news from the ground. Some reason to have faith in young people that they could become new film buffs, modern cinephiles. For 10 years now in La Talente, we organize a cine club for youngs from 18s and below to 25. It is called Les Passagers, and this is how it works. So first, I need to introduce you a wonderful place called La Talente. 3 screens, a bistro and terrace by the Ado River, a recent build restored in 2019 place. Great team. We are 25 wonderful people working in the cinema. Great films. Many reasons to be loved, no? And the truth is, I may say that we are much loved. We are very lucky. We sold more than 160,000 tickets last year. But you know it well. The population is getting older. The audience is getting smaller. We always need to keep attractivity. And especially, we need to seduce young audiences. They are the spectators of tomorrow. They are the future. So, in La Talente, as in many French cinema, we are lucky to be part of a very active environment of film dedicated to pupils. In that way, it's very important for us to contribute building that common artistic culture we run for. I must insist on how great it is to be the place where children can discover films from classic to nowadays exclusive features with schoolmates, sharing emotions in the same place, in the same times, all together. This is not casual in times which bring fewer and fewer collective experiences. I can say it is the main goal of my own work in cinema and my first satisfaction. In a personal point of view, as in a collective vision, I mean as a team in La Talente, working together to provide the most cozy and stimulating first experiences of film represents what I love most, and I never get tired of it. But in other way, it is important for us not to be only the cinema we go with school. That is the reason why we develop and propose many films and action for children and teenagers. This action is called Ma Petite Atalante, My Little Atalante. And then as the children grow up and get independent as teenagers, we try not to keep being the cinema we go with parents either, or worse, the cinema we go with grandparents. So the idea of Les Passagers comes from here. It is a way we found to keep the contact with young audiences at ages we know author cinema and subtitles films are not the most attractive things in life. So in that perspective, we are very aware that, for instance, and to be more specific, the other cinema of Bayonne, the town we are settled, at less than 1 kilometer from La Talente, a 7 screens complex with snooker, popcorn, and video games close to the bowling, represents a much more attractive perspective of fun, than us. But let's say commercial, expensive tickets and blockbusters may be exhausting too, don't you think? That's the way, we bet for it. We bet that good cinema may be as cool as mainstream entertainment, even cooler. We bet that exciting curiosity and reflection could be even more seductive than flattering basic instincts. We know well that is not an easy way. In fact, it means a lot of work, But this is a way we assume to share our passion for films. And I must add, those are issues that I'm glad to deal with every day. So, how does Les Passagers work? First step is the recruitment of a young volunteer during the summer for a mission called Service Civic. We heard already about that type of activity, who is known in various countries. I told her she because from the 3 years we had, there was always girls. So she will be part of the Atalante team from September to end of May. She gets an indemnity for her work. This is important. This recruitment is done through an association called CINA, who groups with an association of the art house cinema of Nouvelle-Aquitaine area, our region. And this recruitment is crossed with another action from the same CINA organization called Students in Cinema, Étudiants au Cinéma, which promotes action towards students all year long. And we are 7 cinemas running its program in Nouvelle-Aquitaine now. What are they doing, those passagers? So with CINA, with the CINA support, that was a global organization which allowed us the specific declination called Les Passagers. So let's get a closer look. So in September, there is a 1 month call for candidates on the website, on Facebook, Instagram, visual communication on the screen. Then we close the recruitment to form a group of more or less 20. We organize meetings, and at the first meeting, we present the cinema, the team, and we insist on the engagement it represents to be at least available and willing during all year long. So starting from mid-October, we organize private preview screenings to give them the ideas so they can prepare presentations, activity, debates, etc. Then during the year until June, they can enjoy the numerous guests we bring in L'Atalante to make interviews. And then it goes to YouTube, for example, with Guillaume Braque here. Also, they take part in festivals and special events. They improve, this is an important way, an important point, they improve educational programs or training, so they are formed to be critic, to make podcasts, to have public speeches. And also important, they enjoy a super reduced price for 1 year of cinema, €3 for all year long. And they can enjoy many films. And the truth is, we are very lucky to have them going around. We can enjoy their enthusiasm, their creativity. They bring us new visions. And I would never forget, for example, the day I first heard going out of a projection with the group. One of them say, "Oh, the film we just saw was a boomer's film." It kept strong in my mind. And since then, I can remember a film from a white, old, and rich man doesn't result casual. Sorry. For that and for many other things, we are very grateful to have them. And in return, we hope we could bring them a rare and precious experience in showing and sharing film. And to end with this, we can wish for the future that we would still be able to organize the Ciné Club, Les Passagers. I won't insist again on the perspective for Europea Cinema members as for the others, which are not brilliant. Audiences go low, public subsidies are reducing. French politics is pretty chaotic by now, and it doesn't help at all to have vision. It results quite complicated to make prediction and to bring perspectives. The fact is, in the coming years, there are high risks we will not be able to present a balanced budget for the general activity of the cinema. There are projects we were forced to stop yet, but let's hope it will not be the case with Les Passagers. But I want to remain positive to end, and we have other reason to keep optimistic. As long as the cinema can be that art which bring magic in life, and as long as we can, each of us, act as lucky go-betweens to share that magic, I believe we can keep high hopes for the future. Thank you very much. With the QR code, it is a link for the passager page on website, on our website.
Are there any questions? That's it.
It was all clear. Thank you.
We can go back to our program. Yeah. But I'll change my... to a program that is inclusion this afternoon. I think it might feel a little bit like déjà vu, you will see, because I'm starting back from basics with inclusion and then on to an initiative we took last year. No, it was not last year, it was in 2023. So the idea is bringing everyone together. So by everyone, I mean everyone. And well, the observation we had, I think, are the same that you might have had already, is that there are barriers for coming to the cinema, because for some audiences, it's not accessible. And it's not only about the technical issues, it's also about how we are viewed as cinemas and art house cinemas. So it's also related to social norms, as we have expressed earlier. So that means people really don't feel like it's a place for them, because they might feel, you know, a bit awkward in a cinema room. And these people, they usually represent a lot more people than what we usually think. So we have to think about representativity as well when we think about inclusion. And I'll also go a little bit through the phrasing, so how we put words into that, because we will see accessibility is not inclusion. These are two different concepts. They go along well together, but it's not completely the same. So the barriers, what are there? Well, basically, like you've got no rooms for wheelchair, or the room for wheelchair is always really at the bottom of the cinema screen, so it's not the best place that you can have. You have also the level of noise that might be an issue as well. You have the darkness that can be a put off for certain audience. And then you have SBT is subtitling and AD is audio description, and we've went through this a little bit earlier as well. So outside the cinema, it's also a struggle to get just into the cinema per se. So if you are, for example, blind, or if you have a visual impairment, it might be really a challenge just to get to the cinema. So, and the streets are not usually really made for these people as well. And so you have also social norms I talked about. So I think we have very rigid social norms in cinemas, that we have to stand still, we have to be quiet, we cannot leave the room, and we have to behave, like we have to laugh at certain moment or be emotional at others. And if a person is not reacting completely in that way, I think people are just looking, and you know, it might feel really awkward. And so there are this fear of being judged and stigmatized. And 1 in 2 people with disability feels discriminated against, so it's good to keep that in mind as well. And so there are also the financial barriers, because the pricing and the additional costs of going to the cinema has to be taken into consideration, because 1 in 3 people with disabilities are in risk of poverty or social exclusion. So that's quite a lot, and that's for the EU. And for Belgium, I put some numbers because I already had them, because we went through that. it's 25%, so one person with disability and out of 4 that lives under the poverty line. So the financial is really important criteria as well. So the representativity part, it's also a bit of numbers, just to keep that in mind. So that's 1 out of 1,000 people that is blind in Belgium. That's the number I gathered from different statistical institutes. In percentage, you've got like 3.4% of people with significant hearing impairment. You've got 9% of the population aged between 15 and 64 suffering from a disability or health problems that severely limit their daily activities. 20 is the percentage of the population being neurodiverse, so on the autism spectrum, or also ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, this sort of things. And 24% is the percentage of people over 16 with some form of disability. That's EU numbers. So you can see there is a difference between 9% and 24, but that's because for the 9%, it's only between 15 and 64. And we also know that disabilities, they used to grow with age. So if you don't take age into consideration, you get to 24%. And so this 24% means 107 million people in the EU with some form of disability. So sometimes I've been to many speeches about, representativity and how to make disabled people feeling inclusive. And one way, usually like a US standpoint, kind of makes the point that, it represents a really number. And so you can see it in a capitalistic point of view that, you're missing some audience. But I think if you have this mindset, it won't work. Really, because these are the most difficult people to go get to your cinema screens. So you also have the importance of terms. I think we've been through that, but it means that accessibility is not inclusion. It's just making things easier, but it's not making people feel like they are included. And we also have the word impeachment. That means that you don't feel like you want to go, or you can't really go for various reasons, and not necessarily disability. So impeachment is also a strong word. And of course, you've got also handicaps. And I put this thing here, it's in French, but I think everybody can understand the difference between equality, equity, and inclusion. It's like, it speaks for itself. It's quite nice, I think. So we're going back to our initiative called La Perche. So La Perche is an acronym in French. So it means projection et rencontre, so projection and meeting for cinephiles in an handicap position or impeached. So we started with the few things I told you about, and we decided to go for a specific screenings. So the objective is to make the cinema accessible for people, but it's also to promote diversity, it's also to promote inclusion, and it's also to make a website that is in itself inclusive. So promote inclusive screenings, not only ours, but all other in the French-speaking part of Belgium, so Brussels and Wallonia. And it's also raising awareness on cultural accessibility issues through the screening themselves, but also through lobbying and through social media as well. So it was quite ambitious. We had a grant to do that lasted for 18 months. And it's gone now, this grant, but we are implementing it. So that's the positive part. So it's also, and I think it hasn't really arisen yet in our discussion, the lobbying part, the accessibility issue in the audiovisual sector itself is very challenging. It really is something that we were not expecting, and that we had to do a lot and are still doing a lot just to make other people in the audiovisual sector aware that there are these barriers and that we have to do collectively something to make them disappear. And so we also encourage other cultural venues and cinema. So with kind of a label. So we went to cultural centers, and sometimes we curated screenings in cultural centers under the name La Perche. And so yeah, this counseling and this lobbying, that's I think we do the most right now actually, and counseling quite a lot. So people just pop up and ask for advice because they really want to organize inclusive events, but they don't have the first idea of how to do that. So it has turned it, yeah, this La Perche has changed a little bit, of course, even though the main core is still to make screenings and make the website up to date. So how did we start? We start by, just saying to yourself that we don't know shit about it, actually. So we are expert in managing cinemas, we are expert in programming, but we don't know about inclusion and accessibility. We have ideas, we have inclusion, we have intuitions, but we cannot say that we know anything. And also understanding that if we do it without the person, the first person that needs it, it won't work either. So you have to do it with them. If you do it for them, probably it won't really last and it won't really work. So that's why we started working hand in hand with associations and people with disabilities themselves. We listen to their needs, and we still do always take their feedback into account, and always question why we do things, because at some point it can just feel like routine. And I think these projects, they really you need to strongly believe in them for them to be kind of sustainable. So the adaptations, so we decided we wanted all the adaptations. So because we've been talking to a lot of people that usually tells us that they are so sick of being siloed and having, screenings just for themselves, just for the blind or the hearing impaired. They want to be part. That's what inclusion is all about. So we wanted to have all the adaptations. So that means that we have to go through the subtitling thing. So meaning also that we basically only have films in French, originally in French, with French subtitles. The subtitles, they differ in color according to who is speaking, and it's also different from the simple one, because they can change places according to who is speaking on the screen. You've got the audio description. Audio description is really nice, but we also had a talk earlier on about audio description, that it is true that some people don't want to use it because they are so accustomed not using any audio description, and they want to feel and imagine for themselves what they are, what we think they are missing, but are not missing, are just imagining in another way. It's also obviously access for people with reduced mobility, but also a magnetic induction loop. So that means if you have a kind of machine to make your hearing better, you can switch it to a specific wave that makes it, more focused on what's happening in the screen and not the people behind you whispering, for example. So that's quite interesting as well. And we also have a relax area. For example, for neurodiverse people, that it's too much. For example, at some moment in the film, they can just leave the room and just relax there. There are cushions, there are nice and touchy-feely things that feels nice, and also obviously the light and sound. So the sound's a little bit lower than for the regular screenings, and there is always light. So the light stays on, not the full light, obviously, but some light. And of course, people can come and go as they please. So this is the website. The website here, you can see it's, in French we said FALC, but it means it's easy to read and to understand. It's also for the mentally challenged people, so they can access to this website and understand what we're doing. And it's a visibility platform for all inclusive screenings, as I said. And you have to know also that there are specific website norms if you want to make your website accessible, like, going through it with audio, or, describing what's happening in the website. And you can have your website be accessible in that way. You have some specific enterprise that do that. So, but you have to be careful, because it's usually, I'm not even sure, I'm sure the website is okay with the norms, but then, for example, for the ticketing, because it goes to another website, I'm not even sure at that point it's so accessible. But because it's not our website, there are still some barrier, unfortunately. And so how does it go? I mean, it's quite simple. So you've got like a team of volunteers. They're wearing a specific T-shirt, so they are easily recognizable. They've been through a small workshop of how to react. There are clear and appropriate communication for the people, so you really do not have to exaggerate anything and speak, of course, directly to the person, because there are nothing more annoying than, if you're addressing somebody else, like the person in front of you doesn't really exist or count. It's so counterproductive, so shit. And you have to respect autonomy, obviously, because you want to help. That's your first feeling. You want to help the people. Please do not so without their consent. It seems a bit basic, but it's still important to remind you. For example, if you see a blind person, no touching unless the person asks you, or you ask if it's okay and if it needs help, for example. And also, obviously, no judgment on appearances, because there are a lot of invisible handicaps. So don't take anything for granted in these screenings. So before the screening, we have this on the big screen. That's already, given a lot of information about what kind of accessibility techniques we have. All the things that I described there. And also very clear signage. And then, of course, you ask for improvement. So we always have like a questionnaire, a small questionnaire that people can just fill in after the screening, or not. I mean, it's not compulsory. And some conviviality. We think it's quite nice as well. So we have like cakes and juice and whatever, and discussions, and that makes it for a wrap-up of the screening. So we have one screening a month right now. So the results, the question is also how we want to measure them, because I think the result in these kind of project, it's not only the sheer number of people coming, it's really how they feel, what kind of feedback you got, how you felt about bringing all that to the big screen. So, I've put a little bit of numbers, but it's not what's most important. So it's a monthly basis. So right now we've been having 14 screenings total, and the average number of people is 50. So the screening room capacity is 120, but for these screenings we go down to 100, because we want everybody to maybe feel a little bit isolated. And it ranges for 15, like when I don't know what came to our mind, but we actually did screen Jeanne Dillman, for example. So that was 15. To 100, that's usually family screenings, because there are not always enough family screenings for family, as we said. For example, for neurodiverse kids, so they are a little bit too, buoyant, and parents don't dare taking them to the cinema. So this is really a place for them to come. And also, obviously, different schedule attract different people. So we have family screenings on Sunday afternoon, but we have also targets of Alzheimer or really older people on the Wednesday afternoon, for example. So it depends. So that's what I was telling you about. So the visibility, the number of people, the feedback. And you also have to be very aware that it's not because you adapt for once that people will turn up. Because usually that's what people think, like, okay, we've made all these big changes and no one is coming. And, yeah, maybe the film is not good. Maybe they have some other things to do. And also it takes time to just make them, come from the first time and then come back. So it's a very slow process. And so that's why I'm saying that the results don't have to be all based on sheer numbers. So the financing is the tricky part. And still, yeah, a lot of questions about that. So it's really hard to break even. So without a grant, we couldn't have done it. That's sad, but it's like that. Voila. And money is a barrier still, so we have a reduced price for these screenings. It's called like a solidarity tickets, and everybody can ask for it, no question asked. But still, it's €7, so that's still a barrier. And the usual suspects, as I said earlier, like the distributors, the producers, they are not ready to pay for adaptations. So that is really one point that I want to make very clear, is that it's really, really very bad. I mean, I still have to struggle so hard to just get the subtitling done and available in the good, versioning of DCP. Sometimes it can take just 6 months with, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like one email every fortnight, like, did you get this subtitling? And also you have like very absurd situation in the French-speaking part. If you make a film that's a majority, financially majority Belgian, you have to make an audio description. It's like compulsory, you get €5,000 to make it, but it's not compulsory to make it accessible. So, it exists and it's just somewhere. And so when you ask, okay, can you put it on an app? Because we're using apps for the audio description, well, then nobody wants to pay for it. And it's not that much, it's like €300. So you would say, okay, that's not that much. But nobody wants to do this. So usually, because we had this grant, we could take charge of this. But yeah, I think so that's why I insist on the lobbying part, because I think, you come to really stupid situation like this. So one of the screening is a bit like that. So you can see the inside of our cinema. The questionnaire, this is one of the relax area, but you don't have to sit on the chair, obviously. So that's about it. Thank you. Do you have questions? What? I got the money from the Brussels region. The Brussels region is not functioning right now, so there hasn't been a government in 500 days, but still this grant exists. So we received €100,000 in 18 months total. But for example, when we want to get some new finances to really structurally kind of do this, nowadays, right now, we can't, because we cannot apply, because there is nothing to apply to.
Okay, just more like a few comments. Yeah, I also joined today. But we have a couple of things that we do. First of all, I work together with our tech university. So we are using actually AI to do live translations. So we are not even bothering asking distributors or whatever to adapt any TCPs, because they're not going to do it anyway. Same with the translations. I've done myself I think 1,000 movies. I'm just translating them myself, because it's just not going to happen like any other way. So that's one way that you can do for like people who can't see very well. We have headsets, and AI does the live translation, so it's not like any actual person is reading it. And that's all free software, because OpenAI is open source thing, so you can just use it to create free apps. You don't, but you can ask money and help, but it's not that hard. And the other thing was, you spoke about the poverty line. The poverty line is very ambiguous meaning. For example, in Belgium, it's 1,520 euros per month, like the poverty line, which is pretty much higher than average salary in Estonia, which is 388 euros, but the ticket prices are still the same. So you kind of have to think about poverty line when it goes over 1.2% from the poverty line. So for example, in Belgium, it's 0.52%. So you are very far away from it having any like real implications to your cinema visitations. But for example, like countries like Estonia, it's over 2%, which means people literally have to choose either, can I buy a cheese or can I go to the movies? Because the prices in stores are still the same, although, there is a 5-time difference. So yeah, the borderline is kind of ambiguous and it kind of gets skewed the more west you go in Europe.
That's why I put the numbers for Belgium and then
Yeah,
the numbers
yeah,
for EU as a whole, but it is true that it can be more specific.
Yeah, that is kind of like weirdly ambiguous. But yeah, just if your government or something doesn't help, just check the tech. There is a lot of things done in like already, and it's all open source pretty much, so just free to use.
Okay.
If you have a friend that has a little bit tech knowledge, they can help you develop like apps and stuff, so it's
Of course,
Okay.
of course, and I will take your counsel, your advice into consideration. But it's also, to me, it's also part of the lobbying process. It's not just that we gather the information and we gather the subtitling, but I think it's also very important that the distributor and the producer are aware of it. It's not just about cost. It's really more about a practice, something that they have to get into doing it routinely, kind of. So it's one way of seeing, it's like one solution, but I would like the solution to be really on a global scale. And maybe they could be the one using AI and then giving me the subtitle. But yes, there is another and then you, yeah. No, but...
I'm confused.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear who I was talking to.
You said you are using an application for audio description. Which application are you using?
So we're using one called Earcatch and the other is called Greta. I think there is also a third one called Toavox that we've never used. So basically how it works is quite simple. So it's on the app and then you can download it whenever you want, so you don't really need Wi-Fi in the room, so that's one thing. And then usually the people who wants to use it, they already have a smartphone, like most of us have, they do as well. And they will put one earplug and they will press play because it's already been downloaded, and then it synchronizes. So the sound from the cinema synchronizes through some techniques I'm completely unaware of. And so you've got really it's precisely timed. And so it's very easy to use, actually.
And how, sorry, just one more question.
Yeah.
Because we were thinking of using this the same, but we have a lot of older people who don't have smartphones or who don't use it, so it was not really applicable. So you have any older people, or what do you do in this case?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have a couple of smartphones. Anyway, like just in case somebody has forgotten it or, or don't have. So we do, and we have some headphones as well. So, but it rarely happens actually. So even for older people, they usually have them. But it's really good to, have a few just in case it is true. And also because we were talking, I think, I can't remember who was talking about this, but at some point I even thought we should make an app ourselves because, we could have it like a European app. It would be a nice CTI because they are usually territorially restricted. So sometimes I'm sure there are a lot of other, audio descriptions, sometimes in French, but because of the frontier, I can only have access to the Belgian, territorially right. And so maybe, it would make it easier, but it would take some money as well.
Thank you.
No, I just wanted to add some thoughts about the last point you made about distributor and producer, because when I was working in sales, for example, I didn't even know which of our films had audio description or subtitles.
Yeah.
And it was not really, like some festival would requested it, but some other no. And when they would requested it, I had to contact the producer to ask them, and sometimes they didn't have it. So it's really, I think...
Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes you say, okay, I heard that you have this subtitling, so can you just put it forward and we can do the versioning ourselves because we can do that as well. And so they're like, no, we don't. And we're like, yes, you do. And, and they don't even know what they have in catalog.
Yeah, of course. It's also because for example, we had so many films from different countries, so maybe the policy is different, but we didn't know what we had.
Yeah, and sometimes it's so stressful because, you know, it comes really like a couple of days before the screening, and they, you know, they like, we promise you it will work, and but then you still have nothing to show. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. Thank you.
But thanks. Okay, let's go to the next speaker. Do you know who you are? Hester. So today I will be sharing a case study of our organization with some really practical things that we did at our organization that we think have made a big impact. So I work for Stichting Film in Friesland. We're a non-profit divided into 3 separate organizations. So on the left you can see our cinema. With in the middle, there's a picture of our volunteers. Actually, last Thursday, they had the annual volunteer party. We are mostly run the day-to-day by volunteers, over 120. And down below you can see our team. In the middle, it's the Noordelijk Film Festival, a Nordic-focused film festival with mostly Nordic cinema from the Baltic states, Scandinavia, Greenland, but also small languages all over Europe and all over the world, actually, which is next week. We work with 40 freelancers and over 200 volunteers. And we have the Fries Film and Audio Archief, which is an film and audio archive, and we save and digitalize material from the late 1800s until now, basically. And I wanted to show you a quick video about to get a feeling about the festival. Okay. Yeah, no, it worked. Yeah, thank you. So the point I actually wanted to make about this video is, I don't know if you noticed, but I think our videographers have done a really good job at filming all of the young people at the festival. But I think the video is very white, and there's, I think almost only white people you see in the video. Which is just one example. The past couple of years, we've started to question ourselves, the people, how can we welcome the people we don't see, we don't know about?
and how can we make them feel welcome in our next editions. Which it's easy to think that if you don't see them, they're not interested in film. But we wanted to make an effort and try to make a few changes to make them feel welcome. And a few examples of the changes we made are in these categories I'll explain. So the first one is team engagement. On the right, you can actually see our coach, Maricht. She trained all of the employees at our organization about diversity, inclusion, and accessibility, so that we know that internally we're all on the same page. And we think that internal training has external results for us. So for example, by training our marketing department on using the right words, because I think words matter a lot. We also train our audience. Once they read our website and they see we're using certain type of words, they might start to use that as well. So we think we're spreading it externally as well. We decided to look at our recruitment and selection procedures, make it anonymous, for example. We developed an internal and an external code of conduct, so internally for our employees, but also externally for all our visitors. And we've implemented a confidential counselor for any issues that employees might have that they do not want to discuss with colleagues or management. They can go to someone anonymously. Then regarding accessibility, on our festival, you can see on the top image, we have an accessibility counter, and that's the one all the way on the left, which is actually a bit lower. So for people who are smaller or who are in a wheelchair can also access and make eye contact with the people behind the desk. The people behind the desk are specialized volunteers, so we select them. That's people who have a bit more attention, and they help anyone with any question they might have. We've developed this with expert by experience. So in our city, there's a group of expert by experience with 18 people with, I think, also 18 different disabilities. And they advise us on what to do or what to implement in our cinema and also at our festival. One also tiny thing is that we implemented a silent room where people can go just before the screenings, because the festival is chaos. There's people everywhere, and not for everyone that's nice. So the volunteers, they take the people backstage, take them to the silent room until it's time to go to the screening room. They can pass the queue and they can just walk in and no questions asked. And we are getting really great responses on that as well. We started with it last year, and this year I already got the first few emails like, can we go again to the silent room? I'm going on Saturday, can you help me? And yeah, I think it's amazing. We have a collaboration with local financial aid organizations. So at the moment there's two, where we offer free tickets in an anonymous way, so they can order it themselves online, and we don't offer free tickets for the things we know we're not going to sell out. We give free tickets for things that we know that we might actually sell out normally as well, but we don't want to offer them the second chances, we want to offer them the first chances as well. So with this, we're able to give away for this edition at the festival about 350 tickets, and with a special focus on kids. We have a collaboration with local refugee support groups. So one of the organizations in our cities is Body to Body, where they're bodying up newcomers to our local inhabitants who've been here longer than them. On the right, you can see the image of the dinner we did last year. So they were all sitting down for a nice dinner, and afterwards they were watching a movie. This year we're doing something similar with a cafe. We also have a few ambassadors from this organization. which get to pick a few films where they can go for free. And then afterwards, after the festival, they'll give us feedback on certain points on how they experience the festival, so we can make them feel even more welcome next year. And then finally, for the queer community, I think cinema in general, we do a lot with queer community already, but we're collaborating with several queer community organizations, organizing special screenings, Q&As, premieres, and it works really well as well. And that's it. Yeah, so next week, if anyone... Okay.
So I will be talking about as inclusion can help you build up your community. This is our beautiful cinema, Kino Art in Brno. I will speak very briefly about the cinema just to give context. So Kino Art is like the only one still fully operating art house cinema in Brno. As I was mentioning at the beginning of this lab, there is another one that right now is closed due to static reasons. The cinema was established in 1919, so we are quite old cinema. It is operated by contributory organization, Touristic Information Center Brno. So it's not exactly like non-profit, but we are getting some funding from the city. We have 3 screening halls. 2 are in the main building, so in the cinema you've seen before. One has capacity 152 seats, the other one 34. And then we have 3rd screening hall, which is like in completely different building in a different part of the city, and it's under different brand. But we are doing the programming, we are selling the tickets, same workers, everything. It's just like it has its own name. Our annual attendance is approximately 80,000, but this year we already have 80,000, so I hope that it's gonna be the first year over 100. So thank you. Our main audience are young adults and adults like between 20 and 45 years old. We have like this, we have kind of alternative cinema, so older people usually don't go to us. So we have actually the opposite problem, I would say, than most of you. So I will be talking about the focus that we are like giving on to include mainly these type of audiences. So the first one is the LGBTQ+ community, which we do a lot. I will be talking about it in a minute. The other main group is expats, because in Brno we have a huge amount of expats, a lot of Spanish-speaking, French, German, from like other Eastern European countries. So that's the second group. Then, of course, like the last group that I will be focusing on is parents with small children. Because this is like a group of people that usually don't have many options how to spend their time. I don't know how it is in your countries, but in my country, like when there is a small baby, everyone is like frowning, like angry, like how can this baby even be crying? And of course, like the for group is like our locals, our main audience that is like going repeatedly. So for the, yeah, I have some notes that I completely forgot about. I wanted to say also one main thing that we do as a cinema is the International Short Film Festival Brno 16. This year was 66th. We had kind of like a, not exactly satanic, but a witchy theme because it was 36, right? 66th year of Brno 16. So this is like beside the cinema, our main project that consumes all of our time because it's the same stuff. Okay, so the LGBTQ plus community. In our cinema, we have two main festivals. One of them is called Mezipatra Queer Film Festival. They will be actually starting in 2 weeks. It's like screenings of new movies or like cult queer movies with a lot of discussion, a lot of other program. And then the other one is Brno Pride Week. And this happens in June because June is the Pride month in our country. And also for like a whole week, we have queer movies. 2 years ago, we had some really interesting program. We had a reading for children by Drag Queen. And it was a book about, I think, like two penguins, like two queer penguins. And the drag queen was reading this book to the children, and it was like a huge, how to say, we had like some protests in front of the cinema, which never happened, but this program somehow got into the media and like a lot of news were writing about it. So there were some protesters, but it was maybe like 10 people. And it was really sad because they were like telling us, you are ruining kids, you are destroying them, you are teaching them bad habits. But then they were there in front of the cinema. The parents were going with the kids, and the protesters were saying really nasty words. So we were like, who is ruining the kids, you know? Actually, a lot of our staff is also part of the LGBTQ plus community. We are like young staff cinema, so mostly students are working in the cinema. So we are like really focusing on trying to be a safe space for everyone, so they don't have to be afraid, you know, to show themselves, like to be themselves. So that's really important for us, and we are like trying to implement it every day. The other group are expats. This is something that we feel like expats usually are overlooked. We have a lot of them, but usually if they don't speak the language, especially Czech, because who speaks Czech, right? They don't have many opportunities to see European movies. Of course, they can go see the American blockbuster, right? Because it's in English. But we are actually the only cinema in Brno that is offering them other European movies or Czech movies with English subtitles. So we have these regular screenings. Here I put a picture of our website. When you put it in English language, the website, it will show you which screenings are English friendly and which are not. So like the white ones, you know, just are not accessible. We are also screening the Czech classics, which a lot of the times are really great movies, and they never had any opportunity to see them ever. So we are working with the National Film Archive in Prague, and they are like providing us the subtitles, the reconstructed versions of the movies, and also we have introduction by film historian also from the National Film Archive. So every time we have the screening, she is so kind to come from Prague to talk about the movie, like to give it in the Czech context, in the history. We have English-speaking staff, like that's one of our must-have when they want to work in the cinema. They must speak at least some basic English. So if someone, they have to be able to sell tickets and ask some basic questions. We have also a partnership with Brno Expat Center. So they are helping us with promotions, but we are also like doing some events with them. We are being part every year of Brno Expat Fair, which is like this exhibition of for the expats of what they can do in Brno. Okay, next, this is just on our website that we have like this cycle, and if they click on the cycle, they can see all the movies that are being with English subtitles. Then focused on small parents with small children. We have this cycle Mimikino, which is like Baby Bill. It's a movie cycle focused on parents with small children. So it's not focused on the children, but the parents. So I'm sure some of you have it also, but it's basically adult movies. And the parents, they can take the kids, they put them in front of the cinema, we have their blankets, we have their toys, the kids are playing and the parents are watching the movie. The light is not completely off, it's dimmed, the volume is also lower, so the babies, so they can, it's sometimes very loud. We have backstage with changing tables, with a potty. Of course, the price for this ticket is cheaper because we cannot offer the same standard as for the classic normal screening, so they pay only €3. And the important thing is that anyone can attend these screenings. It's not just for the parents with babies, but anyone that's attending, they have to be counting that there might be kids crying, screaming, It can be also like if someone is on the spectrum and has issues with the loud sound, it can be also for them. But unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but it's not mainly focused on them. It's mainly focused on the parents. This is a picture from one of those screenings. From this, we have really nice pictures because taking photos of the babies is like a bigger no-no, but we have this community on the Facebook, like this group, that every week we are like sharing what we're gonna screen for them, and we ask them like, hey, we're gonna invite you for a movie for free, like we will give you coffee, but let us take some promotion pictures. So surprisingly, like 20 parents came with their kids, so we have nice pictures. And then just quickly summarize what like small changes for us can like have a big impact on the audience. We have a non-binary bathroom, plus also like the regular bathrooms, but one of them is non-binary. Of course, our cinema is accessible by wheelchair. We have free hygienic products like period pads, tampons, deodorants. So usually when we have like some screening for schools, like some young girls, the pads suddenly disappear, because they take them, but that's completely fine with us because we know that a lot of them cannot afford it or don't want to ask their parents. We also are doing regular workshops for our staff. The last one was with Consent, which is an organization working, like no means no. So we were, this workshop, we were doing like how to proceed if someone from the attendees like come to you saying like, hey, I don't feel comfortable, someone is bothering me, I don't feel safe. So our cinema is also part of the Hate-Free Zone network, which is like this network in the whole Czech Republic, and it's like basically saying like this place is safe, is accepting minorities, accepting like marginalized group, like you can be safe there. And we are also part of Solidarity Network, actually from like 2 months ago, and it's for people that don't have money, that want to go to the cinema, so they can always write us. They will get free ticket, they will get a free coffee, and they just have to like give us some password that they got from this network, so we know that someone is not using it or like abusing it, but it's very open. We also are trying to support like local artists and small businesses, and we make at least twice a year markets in our cinema, so they can offer like their goods, and it's always such a small nice how to do some like how to build a community, and the community is always super grateful for this. That yeah, just quickly for young people, we are also working with this because, as I said, like we have audience from 20 and higher, but we have issues to get the teenagers. So we are doing regular screenings of like cult movies after 2000s with like one famous YouTuber from our place. So he's always like, he's doing the programming, he's always doing the introduction of the movie. So that's interesting, and we're screening like chick flicks and these things. Yeah, and here is just a picture of one of our markets from last summer. We had ice cream and it was super nice. And that's it.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Yes, nobody else? No, okay.
I'm just quickly sharing. You had protests in the cinema. We had a similar things. When I came to artists was pretty much like for like left leaning. There wasn't really like horror movies or like stuff for men and stuff. It was pretty much like the same you see everywhere. And I thought, you know, where is my stuff? Where is horror movies? Where is like the hardcore body horror stuff? Where is anime? Right? Where is esports? So I kind of wanted to force that one a little bit. So at first, when I did esports tournaments, then local art people were angry that I'm ruining the art house environment because esports, streaming, what is that? And then I started doing K-pop events for younger people. Then they were like, this is disgraceful. Why why would I allow these like people in furry costumes? So what is that? So then the next one, because while I was already doing it, why not? We had a Q-Fest, which is like a queer trans kind of fest. Then they changed our logo. Artis logo is Artis kunst on kinos. It means like artis in cinema, like the text. So they changed our logo. Perverts are in cinema. So they like made campaigns. I was like, sure, keep sharing free commercials. Right? Then a couple of months later, the same people that I protected, they also protested because I allowed a other group to do their event, which was about climate change, how fake it is, how they actually had a movie there about how space opens up and somebody talks with you. I don't know how it works. And then they changed our logo saying art is false, fake news is cinema or something like that. And so yeah, I'm constantly in the middle of these things, and I'm like always sure, keep doing it, because this is like a test. If you say your cinema is for everybody, then actually make it for everybody as well, because the other art house cinemas don't do it. So yeah.
I will just say, like, we didn't really have any issues that someone would be complaining, like, you are doing this, why don't you do this? But we are choosing very carefully what we're letting in our cinema. Of course, like, we are trying to be safe space, we are trying to be open, so we cannot, like, allow some, I don't know, like, fascistic oriented people, yeah. Something like this. So
yeah,
it's like we are trying to do it
according to your values.
Yeah, according to our moral. Yeah,
of course. Anybody else wants to share an experience they had? in inclusivity or in problems about that? No? You want to add a final touch?
So, for example, if you say fascists, then it's like, I'm always thinking, so it's about, let's say, 25% of the population, then you're pretty much excluding 25% because of your own beliefs, right?
I don't mind excluding fascists.
So yeah, but then they make a cinema and they do the same thing to you, right? So that's the issue I have. The only thing that I never allowed in the cinema was a Putin propaganda movie. That was like the only thing we said that we can't allow like Russian Putin propaganda. If they can do it, if it's closed event and they're not promoting it, but they weren't.
Yeah, so
they didn't want to do it.
As you didn't allow Putin, which we wouldn't also allow, we don't also allow other that are not,
Yeah, well, yeah.
exactly in line with our own model.
What it shows is, every cinema has its own values and limits to what they will want to screen or not, and which kind of people. And it's not about really people; it's more about behaviors, I think, also.
Like we're not open to everyone. Like we are safe space.
Yeah.
Trying to be safe space.
So thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're a bit ahead of schedule. Yes, of course. Round of applause. Thank you to all of you for sharing ideas about inclusion.